new Notion page that Becca and I have been working on to store that link. And so Becca was going to help with that as well, just updating that and then have it link out to like recordings and stuff from there. So it's got info on DSci as well, and just kind of all the awesome stuff the science team is doing at Regen.
Woo! That sounds great.
Science team.
All right, so I guess I'll start off just to say that we are in the process of trying to improve the way we contact people, and we're also trying to get some sort of event management platform going to just to make it easier in case there are changes or something like that. So please bear with us. I'm sorry that we've been sending out a few emails changing all the time, but we wanted to take some precautions so we don't get Zoom bombed again, if we can prevent that. So anyway, that stuff is in the works. I'll just do some quick updates, and then it would be good to hear from some of you. I guess, you know, we could start with Mark then. But wanted to mention some things about the ReSci, the kind of decentralized science initiative. We had a Gitcoin round for a group called ReSci Network, and that was myself and colleague Sage from Gitcoin who put that together, and it was pretty successful. I don't know what the total is, like they'll let us know in a couple of weeks. But the idea is that that's going to be kind of a catalyst for a community around science for ecosystem regeneration. We had our retreat, the Regen Network retreat last week, and during that retreat, I got some discussion going about what science might look like in Regen in the next several months or year. And we do want to create some sort of organization outside of Regen Network development, which is the for-profit arm where I work and Becca and Tika work. But we're not sure exactly what shape that's going to take and how it's going to be associated with Regen Network, with the foundation or with Regen Network development. We're still kind of working all that stuff out. But I expect in the next month or so, we'll have some pretty good ideas. One of the things that we want to figure out is the business structure. We'll probably start off as some sort of nonprofit, but there's some options there. And right now, I'm just looking into what some of those options might be and some of the advantages and disadvantages. So if any of you folks know anything about kind of business structure and have some insight into some of the different options of what might be appropriate, I'd certainly enjoy hearing from you. So if anybody has any other questions about kind of decentralized science or just science in general in Regen, we can talk about that during the call. Something else I wanted to highlight is that there's the environmental stewardship Google Doc that people have been commenting on. It's been fantastic, but I'd like to do something to kind of move it forward. So right now that document is turned into kind of a discussion platform, which is fascinating for me. I've never really seen that happen before. But it's a little cumbersome. A Google Doc's not the best platform for community discussions. I think it's great what's there, but what I'd like to do is separate them a little bit. So I'll probably go through and create a new version of that environmental stewardship document just to get rid of some of the clutter, some of the comments and things like that. But I'd like to move those conversations all over somewhere. And right now the go-to place is high-low. But if folks have some other ideas about where a good platform for discussing these things, please let me know, because I want to make sure that the platform that we're using is something that the community is going to use. So that I'm soliciting input into kind of a discussion, kind of community discussion platform. The last comment that I wanted to mention is that some of us, I guess Tika, Rebecca, and myself will be going to GOAT, and that's the Gathering of Open Agricultural Technology group. It's basically a group of people interested in agriculture that gather. The last one was in 2018, and then we're supposed to have one a couple of years ago, and it was canceled because of the last 2 years because of COVID. So this is the second more or less annual event that's taking place in upstate New York. So we're looking forward to that. We'll be presenting Regen Network there, trying to get some feedback from kind kind of the broad group of stakeholders that'll be there. There'll be farmers, there'll be people from education, like universities, there'll be people from the government agencies. It's a really broad spectrum of kind of agricultural stakeholders that'll be there. And it's a small group. It's about 100 people. It's an unconference. At least the first 3 days are an unconference. So things will just kind of take place. The way they did it the last time in 2018 was the first day they just basically asked people to write down on stickies, what are you bringing and what do you want to take away? And then from that, the organizers created groups, and it worked out really well. It was really a kind of enriching experience, at least for me, and I think for everybody that was there. And some initiatives that came out of that, one was called Our Sci, which you may have heard of, and another is Open Team, which you also may have heard of. Both of those initiatives came out of the previous GOAT. So, and those, especially Open Team, they just got like a $35 million grant from the USDA. So there's some, some good things happened last time, and hopefully the same the same thing will happen this time around. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling on. Before I pass it on to you, Mark, does anybody have any questions or comments or anything that you want to bring up at this point?
Yeah, I'm curious, do you see Resci Network as being a place for kind of facilitating peer review of methodologies, or at least connecting to scientists or academics that can do peer review on regen methodologies?
I do. So that was one of the driving forces to create it, because right now we're basically looking for anybody that we can find to help with the review. And if we have a community that's really focused on ecosystem regeneration, they can be the go-to place to help with the reviews. So we're hoping that this organization will facilitate the review process, but also the methodology development process. So we want to get this group involved in as many aspects of Regen Network that we can. But the peer review is one of the driving forces, because it is the process we're using now is what's typically used in academia, and it's a lot of work to find reviewers. And there's also reviewer burnout. People just, they'll oftentimes want to review with an organization one time just to kind of get it on their CV. And then they're not interested anymore. So it's kind of like a bird checklist where you just check off, it's like a life list. You just check things off, and once you get it, you're less interested in really trying to do it again. Go, Josh.
Just to mention on that side of things, we're keen to help with methodology development, but when it comes to the expert reviews that you need, we have an advisor on board with us that is working at Earthshot. So that might be a good place to source a bunch of experts from, given he's just started. And we'll be cat herding within that ecosystem.
All right, that's good to know. Thank you. Anybody else before we move on?
It might be cool to share, Ned, that over our in-person retreat with the whole region team this past week, that we got a lot of feedback from the whole team, like engineers, all the devs, about environmental stewardship. Do you want to take a second to share some of kind of your reflections on how that went and things that might have surfaced from it?
Yeah.
Put you on the spot.
Yeah, I'll try to put something together, but it would be good to get your input as well. But my overall impression was that there's a lot of support. I think people like the idea that we've created the Environmental Stewardship Initiative, because that's, in a lot of respects, that's the vision of Regen Network. I mean, right now we're focused on carbon markets because that exists. It's by far the most mature market. It's still, heading toward more maturity, but it's the most mature kind of ecosystem service, payment for ecosystem services model out there. And there's a ton of money around it. So that's right now, that's our focus. But the interest is really much broader than carbon. We really want to focus on kind of a holistic ecosystem service type approach. There are some things that we need to get our head around. I think the infrastructure is developing nicely to be able to support environmental stewardship. The biggest issue right now is markets. Who's going to be buying these? It's very different from an outcome-based thing where you can do easily do offsets and stuff like that. So we are putting more and more effort into the marketing. I'm not sure where that's going to go as far as a regen network development initiative, but it's something that we're trying to push along. I don't know, Becca, if you have some other things you want to add there.
I mean, I think there was a lot of just positive response around this this effort, and I think we got a lot of engagement from both marketing and dev around and leadership around the market piece of it. So I think that it led me to feel extra energized and excited, and also wanting to come to the table with some potential buyers or with some potential, market strategies, so that we can start really digging into like actual opportunities instead of potentials. But it was really great. Ned did a really awesome job, and it felt really good to get everyone's full attention on this effort.
So do people think that is the expectation that they will be marketable, the environmental stewardship credit?
Yeah, I mean, the expectation is that it will be marketable. We're just trying to figure out kind of the lowest hanging fruit right now. So with the fiber shed, with that sheep grazing and vineyards, our initial target was kind of corporate sales, because that's there you can get rid of a lot of credits, in one in one deal. The issue with the grazing in vineyards that we've come against is that U.S. manufacturers right now are buying their wool from New Zealand. First of all, they're using less wool. They're using more and more synthetics. But the price of wool coming from New Zealand and Australia is about half of what it is in the U.S. So they have less interest supporting initiatives in the U.S. So what we're still, well, it's the fiber shed people that are doing this. So when I say we, it's really them. But we're still going after corporate sales, but we're also looking at some other options, such as the California government, state government is interested in supporting these types of initiatives. So Fibershed was going to reach out to them and see if they can help support it. And outside of that, it's going to be mostly just, targeting the local or regional kind of Northern California wine market community to generate support. So I think there's confidence that there's going to be market support. It's just trying to figure out where, where to target that support. And we're trying to get the easiest, lowest hanging fruit for now to get started. Yeah, Josh.
Just to riff on that, strategically, the kind of 3 points of intervention that I'm hearing there are carbon credits as the gateway drug bootstrapping method towards co-benefits. And so I'm thinking around that in terms of natural capital accounting is one side of things that have come up, and payments for ecosystem services have come up as well. So I know here in Europe, we don't actually have carbon incentives or any of that, and the PEZ stuff is more hot and on the go here. And so those are kind of potentially good pathways towards economic viability of these methods and credits.
Could I jump in here to brief as well? Sorry guys, I was having my lunch. This is a good time maybe for us to mention what we're looking to do, which is to accelerate the adoption, get farmers on the journey of regen ag through nitrogen reliance reduction. And we're building a satellite model that will hopefully give the picture of nitrogen usage efficiency. Is that for me to share the link for my company? So
no, that was actually Katika who is mentioning the Wall Street Journal. Please continue.
Okay, sure, no problem. So remote monitoring, farmers get a picture of their usage efficiency, how much is off-gassing, how much is going into the waterways. And the point is that nitrogen actually has a huge carbon footprint, but it also has all these other off-target horrible effects to the environment, pushing us past the planetary boundary. And so we're hoping to get farmers rewarded for this reduction of their nitrogen application reliance, which incorporates the CO2e, but also the ecosystem benefits to not having applied that nitrogen, as a way to get them on this, because that way they don't have to worry about signing a long-term contract and not plowing to get the carbon soil sequestration credit. So I'm just throwing that out there because I feel like I haven't had a chance to tell you guys, hi, I'm Kelly, this is what we're doing. We're agreed and we're based in London. But the other thing is that, yeah, are you in London as well? Awesome. So the other thing is that we're concerned about greenwashing and these credits just being bought by corporations so that they can keep on polluting. And so when we're talking about buyers, the reason I want to jump in here is we're looking to see if there's any way that we could kind of get these purchased almost like a security, like a financial instrument that could be held and therefore not just immediately retired. And we're especially interested in the idea that pensions might want to invest in these, because if you're ever going to invest in a world that you're going to actually be able to retire into someday, it would be securing the food system and getting us off of these horribly polluting chemical inputs. There, I've hogged the floor enough. I just wanted to jump in and say that. And we haven't progressed it very far as a market. And I know that pensions are notoriously conservative. But I know there's a big move to get pension money away from killing the planet. So if anybody wants to really take that offline or collaborate, exciting. I would love to.
Yeah, I would love to do that, Kelly. And then also I'm just a really quick clarifying question. Does that, the around nitrogen measuring, is that essentially a proxy for like measuring how much, whether someone is using a lot of fertilizer or not?
It is completely about understanding how much mineral fertilizer they're using. Completely. Excellent. I can walk through the model and how it works, but it's taking some observed data from satellite and modeling it out.
Definitely want to connect with you, Kelly. Awesome.
Let's
I have
do
to
it.
hop off in 5 minutes, but if I might just wanted to bring attention to the fact that a number of us will be in Colombia, in Barichara. Myself and some of my team are going to be there for an extended period of time. So at least 3 months, maybe 6 months, almost up to a year at most. And while there, I'd really love to pilot and develop a practice-based methodology, potentially focused in on syntropic agroforestry or other regenerative practices, depending on what's kind of possible, as we're looking at all the different regenerative projects that are already underway in that area. So would love to just understand, is there, what from this group, what is the cadence of coordination, and how should I be approaching this methodology development, and kind of what are some of the first kind of like steps to that and coordinating with others?
My understanding on this particular call is that it's every last Tuesday of the month, Sev. And so that's the cadence in this particular room, but we may wish to develop kind of further articulate that cadence into something that allows us to kind of swarm and move. So that I think is maybe a question more for the science team. Excuse me for coming in.
No, that's good. No, I think that's exactly it. So what we are trying to get these little subgroups going. So, maybe nitrogen is a good subgroup or something, something like that, that we can start to shepherd along. The next question is, what's a good platform to do that? What platform are you comfortable with? We're trying to get people involved more and more with high-low, but if that doesn't feel right, or if that's not going to work, let's choose something that does work. But this is something that we want to be stewarding, these sorts of initiatives where people can work together to develop methodologies. Up to this point, most of the methodologies coming into Regen have been developed, I think, in like a silo, and it's been somewhat problematic because there's a lot of duplication and things like that. But if we can get some work, get people from different groups working together for a methodology, I think there's a lot of power there. We just need to figure out the best way to do that. So if you guys have a preferred platform, or if you're willing to try high-low, we can do that. But we're here we want to support you. So I don't know if you've got ideas, just please let us know. Josh, that's going to need some words around it, I think.
Sorry, I was working out a process diagram of how to decentralize the registry after your last email, Ned. And so, like, I guess I see this call here as like the call to action in which people can kind of meet each other, go, yes, okay, we want to get involved with the registry. From there, you've got some nice documentation on the website about generating ideas and concept notes. And so that would seem like the second step to kind of fill that in, submit interest essentially to the registry. From there, going down into the methods drafts, which would be like teaming together to figure out stuff around the nitrogen cycle or the carbon side. So that, I think it's somewhere over there. Method draft, there you go. Will's looking at it. I'll send you a picture later, mate. Which would then get developed into functional specs for implementation. You could submit that then into the Resci DAO once those teams have coalesced, worked on the functional specs, codified them. That can then get submitted to the Resci DAO, perhaps for peer review and public comment. Maybe it's people in Earthshot, followed by the expert review by yourselves and perhaps other leading scientists and such. And so that was kind of like the first kind of line of like developing this stuff that I saw. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to offer that, and I'll type it into the comments now in a 7-step thing.
All right, that's good. I think, you know, that at least initially we should just see if we can get out of this call, come up with a group of people that can start a platform, and that, you know, basically can be a kind of a nucleus or catalyst for a conversation. Kelly mentioned Slack. Do you want to, does Slack sound good? Could you set that up, Kelly?
I guess I could. I've used it successfully with lots of groups, so it's the one I'm most familiar with, but somebody might have a better option that I haven't tried yet.
I'd suggest Regen. Discord's pretty good. Same thing as Slack, right?
Yeah, I like Discord over Slack. I struggle keeping up with both of them. I struggle with just one of them.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah, so Carbon Path was talking about this on Twitter just the other day too, saying like they want a public place to have their methodology development conversations, and they were wondering what Regen uses. And anyway, blind leading the blind kind of thing. Although I think y'all are doing a great job. I don't have a better answer. High-low kind of works.
Well, what I'd suggest then, on our Discord server, we have a methodology channel. Why don't we start the conversation there? Maybe, Kelly, you could just post something up there and say, hey, I want to get a working group together who's interested, and then take it from there. Does that sound reasonable to you, Becca and Tika?
I need to then get on the Discord for Regen Network, but sure, happy to put together a nitrogen working group, because goodness knows I feel out of my depth about doing this by myself.
Well, reach out to us, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, Kelly. It was kind of you started this, so
I think something
for discussions, Discord probably would work, and if that ends up, you know, if you do want to actually spin up like a separate Discord, which I hate having more Discord servers, but if it's focused in on something specific, I think it's useful. And this would be, so I'd be happy to like create and set up a new Discord server for this if there's an appetite for it.
I think something too that we've talked about is if there's a place like a Discord channel where open-ended conversation is happening and loose connections are being made, but then things need to take a more focused, serious turn. That's something like a Slack or like the high-low group where you can form specific projects, like that more targeted work. We have that as an option for this group. And I think if there ends up being a lot of need for that, then we'll just have a demo session where we're walking through it and making sure everybody knows where things are, and start kind of driving more of that like targeted working group conversation, you know, there. So we have a couple of different options. It does seem like now is a good conversational moment for Discord if people are feeling that need.
Just a quick comment on Discord. Yeah, it's my first meeting here, so yeah, thanks for having me, and thanks Josh for inviting me. Yeah, I don't know if anyone here is aware. I don't know if the Regen Discord's already utilized this, but there's a new feature on Discord, which is the forum feature, and it allows you to create it's kind of like a thread, organized threads. So yeah, it could be useful for this type of conversation where it's kind of more organized and it's a specific thread for that conversation. And if someone wants to spin up, you know, a new thread within that forum, they can, and, you know, evolve on their ideas and have, you know, separate conversations within the same topic. So that's quite a useful tool in case you haven't, in case you don't know about that.
Yeah, that's good. I wasn't aware of that. Well, why don't we move this conversation onto the Discord server then, in the methodology channel, just to get it in the public and see who else engages, and then from that discussion, take it wherever it kind of naturally wants to go. That seems reasonable.
To Becca, remind me, when we met with Hilo, they were working on an integration with Discord, wasn't it, that they were doing? So that could be really nice as a place to, you know, store documents related to this that everybody can participate in creating a library, or if somebody's working on a concept note, to put it there and have everybody give some feedback and have people see, oh, you know, Kelly's working on this concept note, she needs some help here. So really have working groups around things and kind of plans mapped out, like, hey, this is where I am in my process of thinking through this system, and these are the pieces that I could use some help on. So it sounds like they don't have that feature up yet, I don't believe, do they, Becca? But it sounded like it was going to be a really nice integration to move from just this conversation to, hey, let's move forward with a document and a process that aligns with the steps kind of that Regen has to move forward a bit more.
Kelly, I saw your note about your Regen Discord woes, and I'll send that to somebody at Regen that may be able to help. I'm not sure what the problem is. I don't know enough about Discord to know what that problem is, but I think I know the person that would know.
Thank you. And Josh may also be able to help me as well, he said. So I'm sure we will solve this. We will find a way. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, it's about deleting the old account. I got you.
Okay, good. All right. All right. Just to move on, Mark, not to put you on the spot, but do you have any updates from your project that you want to bring up here?
Which project are we talking about? Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. So I've been working on the gamification project, and Gijs has developed put some input up there on the document, which is great. The other project, I had a call today for the project in Germany, the science research project. It's going forward, and in Cambodia, nothing yet. We're meeting, but I haven't had the time, still no time to sit down and write the methodology. But picking up what Kelly's been talking about, I think in our paper we look at organic nitrogen definitely as a credit class, because it obviously makes sense. After carbon, nitrogen is probably the best credit class to develop, especially if you cover cropping, because you have basically two credit classes in one. You have organic nitrogen and you have water quality as a co-benefit. And you basically
Air quality as well.
Air quality as well. And so when we use the legumes, the cover crops, we probably fix about 100 kilo nitrogen per hectare per year, but only 50% of that is bioavailable to the plants. So you gotta, take some away of it. But obviously, what you're saving in terms of mineral fertilizer is great, and definitely worth a discussion.
All right, thanks, Mark. So does anybody else have any project type things that they want to bring up or talk about or just get feedback on, with whether it's methodologies or applications? Yeah, go ahead, Darina.
Sorry, was looking for my mute button. Yeah, actually, thanks a lot, Josh, for bringing me here. I just wanted to, for someone who doesn't know me, wanted to say what I'm doing and also explain the stage. So I'm helping coffee farmers to transition to regenerative agriculture. That is, like, initially it started as on the base of my other company. We are doing quality control for green coffee, and yeah, I have the network, and also met many farmers and met them in person. And I, at the beginning of a year, I started to feel, okay, there is like really big interest from them to figure out how to earn revenue from the carbon credits. However, most of them are smallholders, and that's really difficult. And yeah, basically at the moment we built a small prototype where we tested the whole onboarding cycle for farmers and funders. We've been working with the climate scientists on the methodology, so we'll start to collect the data now to actually like fill it in with details. And yeah, I guess the stage is now I need to understand how later it will, like how I will have to validate it with the community. So that's something that we talked about before at the beginning. I guess this is one of my most important questions. So hopefully as we go, we figure it out. And yeah, I think that's more or less the stage, I guess, that provides some idea. And yeah, generally speaking, for me, it's really interesting to look at the in-setting concept. So connecting farmers and coffee consumers rather than figuring out how to sell carbon credits somewhere else, because generally coffee buyers like roasters, traders, they do want to buy from their producers, but they don't have an infrastructure right now. So yeah, this is the purpose. That's it. Thanks.
Yeah,
Happy to connect with anyone on that topic and also contribute to anyone else project if it's in the same area and we can help each other.
Is anybody else here working on kind of agroforestry or coffee type projects? I mean, I know some of you, what you're doing, but I don't know if anybody else is. But I know there's, within our kind of ecosystem, there are other people working on coffee specifically and agroforestry more broadly. So again, that may be another area where we can try to get a community of people, talking about methodologies, to come up with something that would be appropriate for more than one group.
Great.
Yeah, I'm interested in agroforestry, but like semi-arid and dryland context. Go ahead, Josh.
No, I was just going to say, Jesu and Ayantara are both working on agroforestry more broadly, but maybe not coffee specifically. It's all yours, Will.
Hello, everyone. Yes. Nice to meet you. Yeah, I'm doing agroforestry in olive land in Mediterranean climate. It's not tropical, so it's slower. Different species, but yeah, they are hot and we can use common species, ecosystemic species. I am interested in how to support the farming here with the credits. If it's blockchain or let's see the way. Here is abandoned the production in general. Olive trees, carob tree, almond tree. Where is wetland is watering land is citric, orange, lemon. That is more possible near subtropical and coffee, but is so coffee system. Also is the evaluate, so it's very interesting. Which the one, like as I say in the chat, the one credit I feel more impact scalable is biochar because it's very interesting. Any question or anything? Nice to meet you. The first circle of science. And how do you say science 5? Very interesting. I am following Regen Network from the beginning, but I'm totally lost. So I am stick to the earth and too much info. But yeah, I'm forestry engineer, so more or less. Thank you, Rebecca. So more or less, I understand the vision and the technology, but it's going very fast and a bit lost. So thank you everyone, Duncan and Josh, to connect me here and accompany me in this way to regenerate this area here in east of Spain. You're welcome. You want to visit? It's Mediterranean mountain in Alicante province, Spain. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, we do have at least one other person, probably more than that. Becca and Tika would know better, working with biochar. So that they're working on a methodology. It's been using the Vera methodology, but adding an appendix to do basically for their own situation. So that is going to be mostly processing. My understanding, if I fully understand it, is processing waste from forestry applications. So from forest harvesting, creating biochar from the slash, from the wood that's left after they harvest the trees. So that sounds like it would be different than your situation, but it's still a biochar methodology that may be of interest that we could share with you.
Quick question, Ned, does the biochar methodology from Vera incorporate a benefit for the kind of extra carbon drawdown you get if you place it in the soil?
It's certainly considered. I'm not sure how that may be more of a co-benefit. I'm not sure how that's factored in. I'd have to look at the methodology again to see how that's factored in to methodology. I think it's more of a co-benefit than a measured benefit or a model benefit. Mm-hmm. But it's something that's one of the main drivers is the benefit of the, once they add it to the soil. And they're working both from kind of the, people where, to get the fuel to create the biochar, but also the stewards that would be applying it on their land. Both agricultural land, but also when they replant the forest land or regenerate the forest land.
Bruno has his hand up. FYI.
Oh, yep. Go, Bruno.
Yeah. No worries. Thanks, guys. Yeah. So another person that was invited by Josh, seemed Josh was doing some good recruiting for this meeting. It was very interesting to listen in, and I'm coming from the Cardano ecosystem. I met Josh here at a Refi event in Portugal, which was really cool, and yeah, well, we in Cardano don't have too much in the sense of carbon credits. We have a lot of social and environmental projects that are doing great things and in different areas. Yeah, I'm working with a project called Empower. We're financing affordable homes in Africa, and that's kind of our main focus. But yeah, in my free time, whatever free time I can find from doing that, I try to look at regenerative and permaculture projects and support those where I can. And I think there's definitely a missing link there with blockchain and something that I'm looking to explore over in our ecosystem. Yeah, definitely looking to see how carbon credits and all of these other bio credits fit into that. And yeah, meeting Josh and knowing what he's working on, I thought it was good to connect with him. And yeah, I guess my main kind of questions or concerns, I guess, would be, what makes a valid carbon credit or bio credit? It does me issuing one having, what do I need in terms of people going there, in terms of verification? Is it satellite data that's needed? Is it, what data is needed to support a carbon credit? And then how does, a blockchain mitigate the costs of that? Because I've been speaking to a few projects that I'm trying to onboard to Cardano and to use to be kind of like a first pioneer of a credit that I'd like to create, within my community. How will I improve the cost on, verification, for example? Because I feel like that's where a lot of the costs come from, and a lot of the middlemen, they take their big cut because of this or because of some other excuse that they have. And I'm curious to know, how we're going to change that. And I've seen a couple of cool concepts around satellite data and local validators, but I'm curious to know, I'm sure you guys have way more experience than just me snooping around. So yeah, I'm curious to know how you guys did it and if that can be extrapolated cross-chain to any ecosystem.
Yeah, lots of good questions. Let me, Will, why don't you go and then I'll pick up.
Oh, I was just I don't know that this one has been quite figured out yet, but that's one of the things that's bringing us together, I think, is our interest in the carbon markets referred to as MRV, measure, record, validate. And so I know Dorina and some others from the MRV 101 group, which ReFi DAO has. And then I'm part of an organization called Demeter, which mission is to build DMRVs, decentralized digital measure, record, validation systems to support these markets. As to what that looks like, your guess is probably as good as mine. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done, and it is very much intertwined with this DeSci, ReSci movement. Cool.
Yeah, thanks.
Jump in.
So,
go for it.
Oh, go ahead, Josh.
I was just going to say the DMRV stuff is an ontology which would fit within the events category of resource event agent accounting, which is certified by, I don't know, the School of Accountants or whatever they're called, but it's an internationally recognized accounting system. So there's legitimacy within institutions around that. But so DMRV, measurement, verification, and reporting, they're all events within that ontology. And so to make all this stuff interoperable across chains and ecosystems and make the credits interchangeable and be able to value them against each other, it's a good thing to think about interoperability. And REA as an ontology fits into the AD4M one, which is a meta language for translating. And so that's agents, languages, and perspectives. And there's community of practice building that, the REA community building within those terms, and then the MRV fits well within REA. And so then we got to start thinking about the specific types and classes of sensors or measurements reporting. So we've got some breakdown on what is DMRV. So that's just a worthwhile question, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, so Bruno, I'll take a shot at answering some of your questions. I mean, you had quite a few, so I'm sure I'm going to be missing some things. But as far as the counting of carbon, you can do that pretty much whatever way that you want to do it. So a lot of people say with soil, some people are just using conventional soil samples. Some people are using satellite imagery. Some people are modeling it, so it's not directly measured; it's modeled. so you can pretty much do whatever you want, but that is going to impact the value of the credit. And a lot of, the value of the credit is going to largely be determined by the market. And that, to me, it's still a bit of a mystery, because kind of the credibility or reliability of the estimate should be driving the value, but that's not always the case. So it's, I'm not sure right now. The most reliable is actually going out and measuring carbon and seeing how that changes over time, doing regular soil samples. The next, I would say, is using a satellite record, because there we can come up with some pretty decent, reasonable uncertainty estimates, and that the higher the uncertainty, the greater the discount of the cost of the credit or the value of the credit. After that, I would say modeling. The models are getting better. So there are these predictive models, based on the practice and lots of environmental factors, predicting what soil carbon is going to be, how much is going to be sequestered and stored, and then periodically measuring, but having very long time steps between actual measurements, and in between it's all modeled. And there's also, what we're calling the practice-based or the environmental stewardship approach, where we're not interested so much in counting the carbon. We're more interested in the value of the carbon through the carbon cycle. So we're saying that this practice has been shown to have good, positive ecosystem regeneration outcomes. And we think just implementing that practice is going to be good enough. Of course, we're going to have data collection, but those data would not be used to impact the value of the credit. Those data are used to better understand the relationship between the practice and the outcomes. So as far as the carbon measuring, Bruno, does that help? Did that help at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was very, from everyone, Will, Josh, and you. I think it was very interesting inputs. And I think really like what you said at the end there, which is not so much focusing on the carbon, which is something that I've, ever since I've come across this concept, I've been thinking about, which is, carbon is a secondary effect of, lack of ecosystems that, actually retain carbon in their soil and retain carbon in the leaves and in all of the trees and all of the biomass that's in them. So, yeah, I would much rather, finance a project that's rewilding an area and replanting a piece of barren land, rather than a project that's having some magical technology that's taken carbon out of the sky and putting it into diamonds, which I've seen before, which is fair enough. Like, cool, diamonds are pretty cool and they're shiny, but yeah, I'd much rather go visit a wild ecosystem that's brought back, animals that have gone extinct from that area in the past, and this ecosystem rejuvenating itself is bringing back this wildlife and this kind of natural cycles of water and carbon and nitrogen, which I feel like we've really gone away from, I see a lot of desalination talks, I see all of these things, but I feel like we're missing the natural ecosystem, right? Because natural ecosystems desalinate water at a much more efficient rate than, us trying to desalinate it with magical plants. So I think all of these things, they should kind of be interlinked and not segregated, like, carbon, nitrogen, methane, etc. They all contribute to one ecosystem, right? So if you have something that's worthwhile doing, it's going to impact all of these areas, right? It's not just going to be, look at that lovely diagram. Thank you, Josh. Literally, yeah, thank you for that. That's perfect. So I'd love to continue these conversations over in Discord and stuff. So yeah, I'm definitely going to try and keep up with everything as much as I can. And if anyone wants to reach out to me to talk more or to explore these areas, I'm always available. Yeah.
All right, that sounds good. Just one other thing, you were talking about the cost, and again, I think you'd probably get different perspectives depending on who you talk to, but to me, the blockchain isn't so much the cost reduction aspect. I think there are other parts of the methodologies that we're following at Regen Network that reduce costs. The main one is reducing complexity of the methodologies. Most of, like, the Vera methodologies, you need to work with experts because they're very complicated, and those experts cost a lot of money. We're trying to work on methodologies that are much simpler, use simpler sampling methodology, simpler sampling schemes, or sampling frameworks. So I think we're we're reducing costs more through efficiencies rather than the blockchain. The blockchain advantages, from my perspective, are the immutability and the transparency. So it allows people to actually see what's going on. With the kind of legacy registries, you just have to trust that what they're telling you is the truth. What we're doing is, actually showing you what's going on, and if you want to verify it yourself, you can. If you think, if you think somebody's doing something they shouldn't be doing, you have the tools to be able to do that. So anyway, that's just my perspective on kind of blockchain cost and advantages of the blockchain. Does that help, Bruno? Oh, go ahead, Kelly.
Sorry, I haven't used Zoom in so long, I forgot how to digitally raise my hand. I just wanted to, I know we're getting close to time, but there's a point that we're facing, which is a bit like, okay, are we MRV? Are we credit issuer? Are we both? And we've seen that a lot of MRV companies seem to get acquired by the credit issuer that they're MRV for. Like, I'm thinking of Agrina here in the UK or Europe. And I think that we see a conflict of interest there, and we don't want to perpetuate that conflict of interest. And so I just wanted to throw that up there. At the very end is a big topic. I'm curious about this group's views on those things, which maybe is for a different call.
Just to quickly chime in on the previous point, but yeah, absolutely, Kelly. I think that's really a good point. Yeah, the guys that are measuring are also the guys that are giving you the credits and selling them on or whatever. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But around the kind of blockchain and costs point that Ned was bringing up, I do feel like one word that needs to get used a bit more and potentially decentralization a bit less is localization. We don't want someone from Stanford University or Oregon State having to travel to every country in Africa and verify that people are doing something a certain way. We need to educate local people to be able to do that, and I'm sure that's going to come at a way lower cost than and a way lower carbon cost than sending someone across the continents and in a massive metal tube, as they say.
No, that's a good point. There are some folks in our community that are working on like community-based MRV. So that's very local, and also that's supporting the community. So it's just trying to come up with mechanisms that can do that in a reasonable, effective way. But people are thinking about it. So it sounds like you will fit in well with a lot of the discussions going on in and around Regen.
Yeah, I hope so. I need to jump in the Discord a bit more and get myself acquainted with all the channels, right? But I'll get there for sure. Yeah, please, everybody, just be active in Discord. I think this activity will spur more activity, and that's what we're looking for as we're kind of building the community. And people that are on the call that did not receive an email, I guess maybe Josh, most of the people that are on the call that you contacted kind of outside of our email list. If you want to give me those emails, or if those people maybe want to opt in or out, they can. But I want to make sure that everybody on this call is informed of future updates.
I don't necessarily have emails. I have Telegram groups and Telegram handles and Discord handles and a variety of other handles. But maybe we just form a Telegram group for like broadcasting stuff so that it's easy for those in there, and link that up to Discord perhaps, so those that are in Discord see it. And it could be done via Twitter, because I know so just aggregating feeds is probably a good idea, is my suggestion.
Okay.
And speaking of activity, just to let you guys know, if some of the people on this call will be joining me in the Regen Discord at 5 p.m. Lisbon time, which is 6 p.m. CET, to play around with the Markov blankets and the strange diagrams I've been throwing up here. If you want to start trying to experiment with the codification of methodologies and so forth, we can identify nodes and stuff that's happening within the ecosystem functions to piece together these kind of models for active inferencing, which is a good way of turning a very fuzzy credit into a outcome-oriented measurement. And so that's the methodology I'd suggest we start adopting, as it bypasses the need for institutions to give expert review before something has been established. So join me there 5 p.m. if you want to jam.
All right, I think I'm going to bring this to a close, and I look forward to doing this again in a month. But in the meantime, let's try to get active on, I guess, Discord for now, and we'll see where that takes us. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Ned. Ciao, ciao.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks.